It seems like a long time ago when school ended. However, the knot in my gut is still there, just as it was yesterday. It was meant to be a grand celebration marking the conclusion of yet another academic year filled with exams and lectures. However, because to man, things took a bad turn. With the intense light, everyone was giddy with anticipation. Now that summer vacation had arrived, we were all eager to party. However, we had no idea that something evil was hiding beneath the surface. I recall hearing tales about the school being involved in some dubious activities, whispered in the hallways. I dismissed it as gossip at first, but then things started to get strange. There were suspicious-looking guys standing guard at the school gates, seemingly keeping an eye on things, and teachers were behaving strangely, disappearing into their offices for extended periods of time. I attempted to discuss it with my pals, but they dismissed me with a laugh, calling me paranoid. However, I couldn't get rid of the feeling that something was really wrong. So late one night, I began conducting my own research. I sneaked into the school with the intention of learning the truth, and let me just say that what I discovered really chilled me. There was this improvised lab, tucked away in the basement, with all kinds of equipment I didn't recognize. You could name it. There were crates upon crates of drugs in the corner, including cocaine and heroin. Unable to believe what I saw. Right beneath our noses, our school, where we were meant to feel protected, was operating a full-fledged narcotics operation. I felt I needed to take action, but I was unsure of who to ask. Who, after all, would trust a high school student with such an outrageous tale? However, things then took a much darker turn. Students began to evaporate one by one, evaporating into thin air and leaving no trace behind. We knew deep down that the truth was much worse than what we initially believed, that they had simply skipped town or something. When I tried to alert the police, they dismissed me, claiming there wasn't enough evidence. However, I wasn't going to give up that easily. I continued my investigation, pursuing leads and compiling any evidence I could. However, the further I ventured, the greater the peril I encountered. I saw them one night while I was breaking into the school and watching some men in masks putting pupils like animals into vans. When I attempted to step in, they overpowered me and dragged me while yelling and kicking. The next thing I knew, I was strapped to a chair in a pitch-black room and having a sack placed over my head. All around me, I could hear whispers of people deciding what to do next. I was imprisoned and subjected to torture for days in exchange for false information. But I was desperate to expose their warped scheme, so I remained unbreakable. And then, when I had given up hope completely, the cavalry showed up. With their rifles blazing, the police stormed the premises, scattering the masked guys like cockroaches. However, for 10 of my classmates who had vanished without a trace due to the school's dark secret, it was too late. One thing was certain as I left that horror hole for the last time. I'll devote the rest of my life to ensuring that the world is aware of the truth about what actually transpired at that school, because some secrets are worth protecting at all costs. I still get chills when I think of that final day of school. It was all meant to be a celebration of waving farewell and the start of a new school year filled with assignments and homework. However, what happened? I still get shivers from it. With the summer break about to begin, everyone was giddy with anticipation under the scorching sun. My friends and I were planning all the amazing things we were going to do when we heard some rumors. There are rumors that a hidden club is in charge of the school. I shrugged it off at first. Secret organizations in our school, that is. But then strange things began to happen. There were enigmatic after-hours discussions going on, and teachers were behaving quite reticent. I tried asking around, but it seemed like people were afraid to bring it up. That's when I realized something wasn't quite right. I proceeded as any inquisitive adolescent would. I got to work prying. I sneaked into the school late one night in the hopes of learning the truth. Allow me to share my findings with you. I still have nightmares about it. I found this hidden area in the basement that was full of strange relics and symbols of all kinds, and these shrouded creatures were chanting in a language I couldn't comprehend in the thick of it all. I attempted to disappear without being detected, but I must have made a sound since I suddenly find myself being pursued. My heart was racing as I sprinted for my life, and I didn't stop until I was outdoors. However, the horror did not stop there. In the days that followed, odd things began to happen. Children were going missing one after another, and nobody seemed to be concerned. It appeared as though they had vanished from the world. My pals believed I was crazy when I tried to tell them what I'd witnessed. They advised that I should stop watching scary movies since I was merely paranoid. But I was not going to let go of the truth, because I knew it. I continued my investigation in an effort to obtain proof that the secret society was what it claimed to be. However, the further I dug, the more peril I discovered. It seemed as though they were observing every action I took, anticipating the ideal opportunity to act. And then it occurred one evening. I sensed that someone or something was following me as I made my way home from a friend's place. I made an effort to ignore them, but they persisted. One of the shrouded individuals from the basement confronted me as I approached the corner. Knife gleaming in the moonlight, they lunged at me before I could respond. As much as I tried to fight back, they were too powerful. The sword tore through my skin, causing a burning ache in my side. Subsequently, everything turned dark. After witnessing and experiencing so much, I woke up in the hospital, grateful to still be alive but permanently damaged. I may have been silenced by the hidden society, but the truth will never be hushed. Furthermore, I can't help but wonder how many other students were duped by their devious tactics when I reflect on the last day of class. I still get chills when I think of that final day of school. It was all meant to be about liberation and commemorating the end of yet another torturous year. Classes, that is. However, what took place? It like something from a bad dream. Everyone was excited to spend a few months outside the school gates, and the heat was scorching. As my friends and I were organizing our summer plans, strange things started to happen. Teachers were whispering to each other in the hallways, looking around nervously as if they were hiding something. What about the principal? He was, in fact, acting even more strangely than normal. He would spend hours upon hours disappearing into his office, and he had this crazy expression in his eyes when he finally emerged. I didn't give it much thought at first. I mean, aren't adults strange? However, there were later persistent suspicions that the school was engaged in a covert scientific experiment. At first, I laughed it off, but as I listened more, it began to make more sense. Why else would the principal and teachers be behaving in such a sleazy manner? As an inquisitive adolescent, I made the decision to look into it more. I sneaked into the school late one night in the hopes of learning the truth. Allow me to share my findings with you. It resembled something from a science fiction film. This lab, tucked away in the basement, was full of oddball devices and gadgets, and at the center of it all were these liquid-filled tanks that appeared to be holding human bodies. Unable to believe what I saw. Right under our noses, our school, where we spent our days studying mathematics and history, was conducting some sort of bizarre science experiment. However, things were going to get really crazy. I heard noises coming from down the corridor as I tiptoed out of the lab. I observed the principal and many instructors huddled together, whispering to each other as I peered around the corner. At that point, I heard it. They intended to use the student body to obtain the additional test participants they required. I felt I needed to take action, but I was unsure of who to ask. A high school student with such an outrageous story, who would believe it? But then it did occur the following day. Students began to vanish without a trace, going missing one after the other. Everyone initially assumed they had simply left town or something, but we all understood the truth in our hearts. Students were being abducted by the principal and teachers for their bizarre experiments. When I tried to tell the police, they dismissed me with a remark that I was only using my imagination. However, I wasn't going to give up that easily. I persisted in my investigation, looking for proof to reveal the reality. However, the further I ventured, the greater the peril I encountered. I ran into the principal and his friends in the lab one evening while I was bugging around the school. After catching me red-handed, they hauled me into a dimly lit room and locked the door. I was imprisoned and tormented for days without knowing anything, but I wouldn't give up since I was determined to expose their heinous experiment. And then, when I had given up hope completely, the cavalry showed up. With their weapons blazing, the police rushed the building, arresting the principal and his friends. However, for 25 of my classmates, it was already too late, vanished into thin air, victims of the mad experiment conducted by the principal. One thing was certain to me as I left that school for the last time. I'll devote the rest of my life to ensuring that the world is aware of the truth about what actually transpired at that school, because certain secrets are worth protecting at all costs.